And now, aviation weather around Alaska. Hi there, I'm National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska aviation weather outlook that'll take us for Sunday into Monday on this Saturday, February 24th, 2024. And to set things up, at least as of this Saturday, we have an area of low pressure in the northwestern Gulf, producing accumulating snow back through Anchorage, the lower Mat-Su Valley, the Kenai Peninsula, and around Prince William Sound. It's a kind of a lower end advisory type snow, but that'll be tapering off through this Saturday afternoon and evening. Another little secondary low is going to push into the Panhandle and produce accumulating snow around Petersburg down through Clawak, Craig, Prince of Wales Island. And the bulk of that system will be sliding east-southeastward by the time we get into Sunday morning and certainly afternoon, so conditions will be improving there as well. There's still going to be some pockets, though, of light snow and lower ceilings in areas of the interior, back up toward Kotzebue Sound and then off of Point Hope. This area here has had a lot of blowing, drifting snow. And then down here in the North Pacific, the next low will be lifting north-northeastward and crossing the central Aleutians on Sunday, so a large area of IFR conditions associated with that low and the frontal system arcing out ahead of it. The low will take a track up near the Pribilof Islands to Bristol Bay as we get into late in the weekend by Sunday evening, Sunday night. And then a secondary low forms here in the western Gulf as we go through Sunday night into early on Monday. And that system's going to be sliding southeastward. So that will get more active weather here, but the biggest thing about the low early next week that takes shape in the Gulf is northeast to north flow on the backside of that low is going to draw down some reinforcing Arctic air for temperatures that are going to be turning much colder across much of the mainland here next week, especially mid and late week. So looking at Sunday afternoon, improving conditions, VFR across the Panhandle, south central, MVFR areas there out across the middle Yukon up into the northwest coast. And then we have that low pressure lifting up into the lower Bering and the frontal system arcing ahead of it with a broad area of IFR conditions. It'll be windy, areas of precipitation, lower ceilings, and at times visibilities. By Monday morning, we have that low working its way eastward with the front arcing out here into Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island areas. And then come Monday afternoon, we expect that development of the low here, that secondary low beginning to develop in this region. And we expect IFR conditions along the southwest coast, Bristol Bay area, inland a bit. And then also IFR conditions east side of the Kenai, Prince William Sound out into the Gulf. And conditions for passes coming up here. VFR up there in Anatuvik and Adigan passes on Sunday out through the east central Alaska range. Again, much colder air is going to start to spill southward across that region as we go through Monday and certainly by Tuesday. Lake Clark and Merrill start out with MVFR conditions there along the west arm of the Alaska Range Sunday morning, giving way to VFR conditions. Rainy Pass, MVFR becoming VFR as well. Windy Pass, same thing, MVFR early Sunday coming VFR. And Isabel will see MVFR conditions also become VFR. Mentasta Pass will kind of hold on to MVFR conditions on Sunday, though conditions should become VFR there by Sunday night and certainly Monday. Tanita Pass, look for VFR conditions Sunday, and also Portage Pass will see VFR conditions. And further east there into the northern Panhandle, Chilcoot and White will see VFR conditions, and VFR conditions will overspread the Panhandle late Sunday, and especially for the day on Monday. Freezing levels at the surface on Sunday morning will be running from out here into the western central Aleutians up to around St. Paul, then dipping back down along the Pacific coast there of the Alaska Peninsula up toward Kodiak Island along the eastern Kenai, northern Gulf Coast, and then into the inner channels of the southern Panhandle. And freezing levels aloft are most notably elevated ahead of this low that's going to come out of the North Pacific and cross the central Aleutians on Sunday. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10,000 feet. This will be expanding northeastward and then shifting eastward as we go into Monday. So the greatest threat of icing on Sunday, there could be some lingering moderate icing here around Hyder, Metlakatla, way in toward British Columbia above 4,000 feet. Back here across the central interior, north of the Alaska Range along the Yukon River back toward Kotzebue Sound, there could be some areas, patchy light snow with some lower ceilings, so freezing. Icing could be possible above 2,000 feet. And then with this broad low pressure and frontal system, further north in the cold air, we could find moderate icing above 3,000 feet as we get down toward and just north of the Aleutians and the lower portion of the Alaska Peninsula above 5,000 feet. And then south of the land areas in the North Pacific, we expect to find there could be some moderate icing in the clouds above 7,000 feet. Looking at the upper level jet stream pattern, we have an anticyclonically curved jet core as high as 145 to 155 knots from out of lower Cook Inlet across the southwestern Gulf into the North Pacific. And this is just a bit of a weak ridge ahead of the trough here that's part of that low that's going to be working its way across the Aleutians Sunday. And at mid-level, 700 millibars or 9,000 feet, we find a reflection of that upper level feature. Notice the ridging and a pretty good belt of winds anywhere from around 60 to as high as 70 and even 85 knots as you get south there of the central Aleutians, south of Atka and Adak. And then for 3,000 feet, we find starting out here in the areas of the southeastern Gulf and off the British Columbia coast, there are some winds 45 to 50 knots there down in the North Pacific. This energy is moving away from the Gulf of Alaska. Could have some 40-knot, at least surface winds in lower Cook Inlet, the entrance there of Cook Inlet, northeast of Kodiak City on Sunday. Again, this is at the 3,000-foot level, but we are also expecting those winds at the sea surface. And then this circulation of the low, we find that on Sunday, as that low is going to be lifting northward across the central Aleutians, pretty good belt or circulation of winds of 40 to pockets of 50 to 55 knots north and south of the low center, and then also along this frontal system, a shift of winds from either at the surface at least, southeast to south-southwest. So that's going to translate to areas of turbulence. There could be some moderate turbulence along areas of the Panhandle, Haida Gwaii, surface to 6,000 feet back through the northern Gulf along the eastern Kenai, here at the entrance of Cook Inlet, Kodiak Island, surface to 4,000 feet, and then a broad area of moderate turbulence extending out here through the lower Alaska Peninsula, back through the central Aleutians, surface to 3,000 feet with potentially some isolated severe turbulence from areas of the central Aleutians into the eastern Aleutians, especially, say, from around Atka to Nikolsky. So keep that in mind. But otherwise, as I said, this pattern is shifting, and that low will eventually be tracking eastward into the Gulf here as we go into early next week, allowing for much colder air to come down from the north across much of the mainland, especially by midweek.